So, if you're in Year 11, you have less than a month until your first GCSE. If you haven't started doing past papers yet, I would highly recommend it. But as well as just doing them, I want you to self-mark them using the mark schemes that you can find online. And then if there's any topics within the exam that you don't know how to do, single those out, spend a bit of time on it until you fully understand it, and then go back and do another past paper and repeat the process. So watch along as I do this one, make some notes, and as always, if you have any questions, pop them down in the comments below and I will get back to you as soon as possible. So starting off, question number 1, write down the inequality shown on this number line. So we would start off, x is the letter they use, so we're going to use x here. It's a hollow circle and it's going towards the greater than, so it's just going to be a greater than not equal to and minus 1. On the number line below, show the inequality minus 3 is less than or equal to y, which is less than 4. So instantly we don't have an equal to on the 4, so that's a hollow circle, solid circle on the minus 3, and a straight line between them. That would be our 2 marks. Highest common factor of 60 and 84. Quickly just write out the factor trees for these, and if we do the same for 84, if we now convert this into a Venn diagram, always make sure that middle area is nice and big for these, because for HCF that is the most important part. As you can see, we have a 2 common in both, and we actually have another 2 and a 3 common in both. So we're going to put 2, 2, 3. The highest common factor is going to be 2 times 2 times 3, which is going to be 12. Find the lowest common multiple of 24 and 40. So you could apply a similar method, but just to show you other methods of doing this, I'm just going to write out the 24 times table and the 40 times table. So 24, 48, 72, 96, 120, 40, 80, 120. So we can use 120 for this one. Sam drives his car on a journey. Here is the travel graph for the first 15 minutes of his journey. Work out his speed in kilometers per hour for the first 15 minutes of his journey. So the way we would do speed is basically the gradient of this line. So as you can see, Sam covers 20 kilometers, so that would be his change in the y, and his change in the x would be 0.25 hours because that is 15 minutes. So 20 divided by 0.25 is going to be 80 kilometers per hour. At 10:15, Sam stops for 10 minutes and then drives for 20 minutes at a speed of 75 kilometers an hour. On the grid, complete the travel graph for Sam's journey. So if Sam stops for 10 minutes, that's going to be no movement at all up until 25, and then drives for 20 minutes at a speed of 75 kilometers an hour. So quickly, we need to work out how much ground does he cover in those 20 minutes. If he's doing 20 minutes at 75 kilometers per hour, technically in 1 hour he will cover 75 kilometers, but 20 minutes is a third of that. So if we divide this one by 3, that's going to be 25 kilometers. So in 20 minutes he increases 25 kilometers, so that will be up to 45, and 20 minutes, so it's going to be up to here, and then just a straight line up to there. And that is the 3 marks done. Complete the table of values for this. So all we do is just substitute them in. So 4 here, we substitute that into the x values. So that'll be 16 minus 8, add 2 will be 10. I'm just going to substitute all of these in using exactly the same method. And here is the final table. And then what we're going to do is just plot our results. So 4, 10 is going to be up there. And here is what it looks like after we've plotted all the points. And we want to draw the graph, so we just want a nice curve going through as many of those points as you can, as accurately as possible. Use your graph to find estimates of the solutions of the equation when this is equal to 4. So as you can see, if we just draw on where y is equal to 4, you can see that occurs here and here. So they are going to be at the x values of roughly minus 0.8 and 2.6, so that's going to be your 2 marks there. Here is a right angle triangle. The shaded shape below is made from 2 of these triangles. Work out the perimeter of the shaded shape. So the first thing I notice we can do is use Pythagoras to work out this side. So 8 squared plus 10 squared is going to be equal to 164. And then we can do the square root of 164. And this is a calculator test, so you can use your calculator to simplify that. Will be 2 root 41. 2 root 41 is equivalent to 12.81 if we round it to 2 decimal places. All we have to do now is work out that little edge there. Now, if we know that the bottom of this is equal to 10, we can just take that away, so that's going to be the 2.81 there. So we're going to do 8 plus 10 plus 12.81 plus 2.81, and that is going to give us a value of 41.62 millimeters. It wants us to give our answer to 3 significant figures, so that will just be 41.6. ABC is a right angle triangle. Work out the length of BC. So straight away it's just going to be trig. If BC is here, that's going to be the opposite, and this is going to be the adjacent. So we're going to want to use tan of our angle, which is equal to opposite over adjacent, which in our case is x over 12. So x is going to be equal to 12 tan 56. That is equal to 17.8. And it wants it to 1 decimal place, so that is how we leave it. Work out the size of the angle marked x. So again, just trigonometry. The 18 is going to be the hypotenuse, and the 15 is going to be the adjacent in this case, so we can use cos. So we want cos of x is equal to the adjacent over the hypotenuse. And because we're trying to work out an angle, we want cos to the minus 1 of 15 over 18, which is equal to 33.6. And that's our final answer. Liquid A has a density of 1.8 and liquid B has a density of 1.2. 80 centimeters cubed of liquid A is mixed with 40 centimeters cubed of liquid B. So I think there's multiple ways we can attempt this question, but I'm going to use the one that is probably in the mark scheme. So density equals mass over volume, and we want to work out first of all the masses of A and B. So if we split this up into A and B, the mass is going to be the density multiplied by the volume. Now the density of A is 1.8 multiplied by 80, and the density of B is going to be 1.2 multiplied by 120. So if we pop both of those into the calculator, they are both equal to 144. Altogether, when we mix those up, it's going to be 288 grams for C. So the density of liquid C is going to be the 288 grams over 200, and then if we divide that, we get 1.44 grams per centimetre cubed, which they give you the units for anyway. Group frequency table, 50 people. So these questions can be quite difficult, but when it comes to a cumulative frequency table, these inequalities, because you're adding up the total frequency as you go, these should all be 0 at the lower bound. You could write some examples just to show what it should be instead, and also like a little sentence just to elaborate on the point that you're making. But that would be your 1 mark in that situation. Here we have a box plot, and we need to work out the interquartile range. So the interquartile range is going to be the upper quartile minus the lower quartile. So this will be 180. So the upper quartile is going to be 188 because each square represents 4, and the lower quartile will be 50. So 188 minus 50 is equal to 138. Becky says 50% of the people waited for at least 2 hours. So 2 hours would be here, and 2 hours is exactly on the median, and the median is the middle value once we put them in order. So because median is equal to 2 hours, then 50% did wait longer than 2 hours. So comparing this table to the previous box plot, did people have to wait longer on Tuesday than on Monday? So give one reason Becky might be wrong. Well, straight away, on the Monday box plot, the median was 120, but on Tuesday, the median was lower, which would indicate that most people probably didn't have to wait longer. Okay, here we have a very common compound interest question, but we're not told what the original investment was. So whenever you see any of these comparison questions, I recommend just splitting your page into 2. So we know that the starting value multiplied by 1.025 to the power of 3 is equal to the 344,605. If we rearrange all of the left-hand side, we can just say that x equals 344,605 divided by 1.025 cubed. Then x is going to be £320,000. So we can then use that because Sadiq started with the same amount. So we can say £320,000 multiplied by 1.02 for 2 years. If we first of all work that out, that gives us 332,928, and then we want 3.5% on top of that for the extra year. So we can take this value, multiply it by 1.035, and that will give us our final value. And we get a value of £344,580.48. Okay, so here we have ratios on a straight line. We know that this is 2 and this is 3. So using the ratio, we know that there is a difference of 6 across the bottom and 3 going up. So if we scale that down to one part of the ratio, that must be 3 across and 1.5 up. So if we triple that, going across the bottom and up the side, we're going to have 9 and 4.5. So the coordinates of R are going to be 0 plus 9 and 3 plus 4.5, leaving us with 9 and 7.5. Find an equation of the line that is perpendicular to L and passes through Q. So firstly, we need to find the gradient of the line that goes through PQ. So to work out the gradient, we can just do the change in the y over the change in the x. That is going to be 3 divided by 6, which is a half. Now, perpendicular gradients are going to be the negative reciprocal of that gradient. So half is going to become minus 2. So we can substitute the minus 2 in, so it's y equals minus 2x plus c, and we know it passes through q, so the y-intercept must just be 3. So y equals minus 2x plus 3. That's our final answer. Expand and simplify a triple bracket. So for those of you that don't know, treat it like a double bracket first, so just do the first two. That's going to be 3x squared plus 2x minus 6x minus 4. And obviously we can simplify those two middle terms to make minus 4x. And then what we do from here is we just do like a triple claw kind of thing. And that is going to give us 6x cubed plus x squared minus 20x minus 12. And we cannot simplify any further than that. In a school, there are 16 teachers and 220 students. Of these students, 120 are girls and 100 are boys. One teacher, one girl and one boy are going to be chosen to represent the school. Work out how many combinations there are. So if there are 16 teachers, we can multiply that by 120 and multiply that by 100. And that will give us all our combinations that we can have. And that is going to be 192,000 combinations. So on to our next question. We have a triangle. This is a non-right angle triangle and we need to find BC. Straight away, we do not have a pair of angles and sides. It's a non-right angle triangle. So that tells us we have to use the cosine rule. The cosine rule is a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. We can say that the big A is equal to 72. The B is going to equal 8 and the C is equal to 11. It doesn't matter whether B or C is the other way around. All I'm going to do is pop that into the calculator and it's going to give us A squared. And A squared is 130.61. And then if we square root that, A is going to be equal to 11.4 because they want it to 3 significant figures. Find the area of the triangle of ABC. Now again, non-right angled triangles, if we don't have the perpendicular height, then we use half AB sin C. So again, we have the angle, so that is going to have to be our C in this case, which means A and B are going to be these two. So in our calculator, we would put half times 8 times 11 sin 72. And that's going to give us a value of 41.8 centimeters squared. So iteration. And this will be iteration to form a sequence. So what we want to do is put 2 into our calculator and you press equals. That will save your ants button as 2. Then in your calculator you would put the cube root of 10 minus 2 ants. And then if you hit equals, you're going to get x1. If you press equals again, you're going to get x2. And press equals again and you get x3. So x1 gives a value of 1.817 and so on. x2 is 1.853 and so on, and the next one is 1.846 and so on. The next question, we have a histogram. Some people took part in the first round of a competition, and we have the scores of these people in the first round. 20% of the people got a score high enough for them to qualify for the second round. Work out an estimate for the score needed. So first of all, we need to work out how many people took part in this competition. So all we do for that is just find the area of each of these bars. So for this first one, it's going to be 5 multiplied by 0.8, which is 4. We have 10 multiplied by 1.6, so 16. 10 multiplied by 2.2, so 22. And 15 multiplied by 1.2, which gives us 18. So altogether, 18 plus 22 plus 16 plus 4 is going to be 60 people. So 20% of 60 is going to be equal to 12. Now 12 is going to be about 2/3 of the final box. So an estimate for the score will be 30. Here is a graph of y equals sine x. We need to find estimates for all 4 solutions for x, where sine of x equals 0.6. So find 0.6 on our graph first of all, which is in line with this blue line. If I extend that out all the way, we can see it crosses the line here and here, but that's just between 0 and 360. So estimates for those, so that's going to be about 36 and 144, and then if we add 360 to both of those, so we get 396 and 504. The graph of y equals sine x is reflected in the x-axis. This would be the type of example where it's a y equals minus f of x. So it's just going to be minus sine x. Here is a graph of y equals f of x. On the grid, draw the graph of y equals f of x minus 2. So when it's inside the bracket, that affects the x direction, and if it's a negative, that actually means it's a movement to the right in this case. So we want all our points to be 2 places to the right. So this is what our final plot should look like. A, B, and C are 3 spheres. The volume of sphere A is this, B is this, and the ratio of B to C is 1 to 2. And we need to work out the surface area ratio for A to C. First of all, A to B and B to C. So the volume scale factor will be 125 divided by 27. Because those are both cube numbers, we can actually straight away work out the regular scale factor by cube rooting both of those, which will be 5 over 3, leaving us with our area scale factor in the middle, which will be 25 over 9. Using a similar thing for B to C, if the radius of C is double that of B, then B to C scale factor is going to be 1/2. The area scale factor is going to be 1/4, and the volume scale factor is going to be 1/8. Now the easiest thing to do here would be to pretend the surface area of A is, for example, 1. If we multiply that by 25 over 9, that is going to be what the surface area of B would equal. And then if we turn that into C by multiplying it by 1/4, that is going to be 25 over 36. So it's 1 to 25 over 36. Or if we simplify that, we're going to have 36 to 25. And that is our final answer. So in a village, if it rains on one day, the probability that it will rain on the next day is 0.8. If it does not rain on one day, the probability that it will rain on the next day is 0.6. There is a 70% chance that it will rain in the village on Monday. Work out an estimate for the probability it will rain on Wednesday. So let's say on Monday it does rain, that would be 0.7. That means because it rained that day, there will be a 0.8 chance of rain on Tuesday and a 0.8 chance of rain on Wednesday. Alternatively, it could rain on Monday, not rain on Tuesday, and then rain again on Wednesday. If it doesn't rain on Monday, there's a 0.3 chance, which would then mean there's a 0.6 chance of rain on Tuesday and a 0.8 chance of rain on Wednesday, or a 0.3% chance, or a 30% chance of rain on Monday, a 0.4 chance of rain on Tuesday because it didn't rain, and then 0.6 chance of rain on Wednesday. So the main part of all these is that this whole column causes rain on Wednesday. If we put all of these values into the calculator, we get these values, and then because any of these could happen, we add all of those up. And our final answer is 0.748. On to the final question of the exam. The time period t seconds of a simple pendulum of length L is given by the formula. We are trying to estimate the value of G. We need to work out the upper and lower bound for the value of G. All the others are going to have upper and lower bounds. So that will be L, upper bound and lower bound, and T, upper bound and lower bound. If it's 52.0 correct to three significant figures, that could be 52.05 or 51.95 for the bounds for that. For T, we could have 1.455 or 1.445. Now we need to work out G, not T, so we need to rearrange this equation. So we can say T over 2 pi equals root L over G. We can then square both of those, and then just by rearranging a little bit more, G is going to equal 4 pi squared L over T squared. So for the upper bound of G, we're going to want to use the upper bound of L and the lower bound of T, and then the opposite for the lower bound of G. So I'm just going to put all those in, and this gives me these two values down here. Just make sure that you can work out this on the calculator. If you have any questions, please pop them down in the comments below. And that is the end of this paper. As always, thank you very much for watching. Good luck with the exams, and I will see you for the next past paper.